Hey, Nerd Herd, I'm Rich Dotson.
I'm Matt O'Hara.
And I'm Garrett Price.
And today we're here to cover our 2020 Fantasy Football Awards. There's a lot of things that happened in 2020 and a lot of good things come out of it. Who was this year's biggest riser?
Who is this year's biggest faller?
And who are the rookie cornerstones?
We're going to get into that and so much more in today's episode. Let's get into it.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Rich Dotson, here, my fellow nerds, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And Garrett Price.
How's it going?
It's going pretty swell as we kick off the 2021 Dynasty Fantasy Football season. I hope everybody had a very happy New Year. My New Year is going okay because my favorite football team in the world, the Cleveland Browns, have not made the playoffs in 18 years. They finally make the playoffs after 18 years, and the team gets COVID.
Yep.
Yeah. No problem. No big deal, right? No.
We don't need our head coach, right?
But we've been used to it for, 20-some years not having a head coach,
Three straight Pro Bowl guard versus Cam Hayward. Who needs them with our other backup guard on IR? No big deal.
No biggie.
Nobody will ever understand the pain it takes to be a Browns fan and what you can go through. Just go look over the history of the NFL over the last 20 years of all the crazy things that have happened. They're all Browns things. Bottlegate, throwing bottles on there.
Yep.
Coming back, Kansas City game, takes his helmet off, we lose.
Dwayne Rudd. Yeah, I remember
Dwayne
Rudd. Just counting Johnny. Our quarterback flies to Vegas before the day before a game and wears a fake mustache so he can go gamble and booze.
Remember all the Peyton Hillis stuff that went on? Like he had that Madden season, and then after that he was having like shotgun weddings during the season, and
it's insane. I'm telling you, it's crazy. It's. But hey, maybe we win.
At least you guys were alive when we were like good in the early 90s. Like I was
90s.
Alive.
80s,
that was the
friend.
80s.
Early 90s we were good too, right? 92, 93,
94
94?
with Bill Belichick when we won one playoff game.
Yeah, we were pretty good.
Okay, well 80s, but
we were good in the 80s.
the Browns left when I was 5.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're good now. And
My first memory was Ty Detmer.
Maybe we run the ball with Nick Chubb and we
Nothing
run.
but pain.
So we'll see. But hey, enough of heartache as to how we're gonna kick off the 21 season.
That's right. We gotta be more positive.
Browns are gonna win, so it's gonna be great. But as we all know in Dynasty, there is no off season.
No offseason.
And our season's just beginning. So we have a lot planned here for 2021. We have a lot to get through. Today we're going to do our award show. For the Nerd Herd show, we're going to recap the 2020 season. Next week, we're going to do a way too early 2021 mock draft. Even do a little super flex action in there.
Ooh.
Hello. There's a lot of quarterbacks.
That sounds super.
Flexy.
Sounds flexy.
Yeah. Ooh, look at us jinxing it up here. We're going to do that. Then we're going to do the 2019 rookie redraft. We have some really good analytics shows coming up here about what to do with running backs and wide receivers. If you check out the YouTube channel, me and Matt just did a quick episode to kind of break it down.
A little preview, if you will, right?
Why you should something we've always been talking about in this podcast forever. Hashtag 2 to 3 year window on running backs. Well, we dug in and did 10 years of data on it. And guess what? Turns out to be for the last 6 years, we've been right. Hashtag 2 to 3 year window. Always sell running backs. Always be selling.
Always.
But today we're doing an award show. So we have a lot planned. You and Jared are going to the Senior Bowl this year?
Can't wait. Yeah, I got to go to the Combine last year, but I was alone. I didn't have anybody with me. Now I got Jared coming with me to the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
We got you guys one twin bed.
Yeah, so
Great.
get ready to snuggle.
Uh-huh.
And I snore.
Yeah. Perfect.
Jared's giving me the dirtiest look right now. Bring your earplugs.
Obviously, we have a lot planned, and then after everything gets going, by the time we get to the Combine, we're going to do what we do best, and that's break down these 21 rookies for about 3 months and make sure everybody is in the best position to dominate their rookie draft. And if you ever need proof, just go back to our last 6 years of podcasts, and you'll see there's probably not a better podcast out there in the United States of the United World out there.
United World.
The United World.
One world order.
Wow.
One world, one draft, one NFL that breaks down the rookies and puts you in the best position than I think the Dynasty Nerds podcast.
There is only one NFL in the world. So, I mean, it makes a little bit of sense.
That is true.
What Rich is rambling about.
You're making some very good points.
Well, sometimes you can order one of those China NFLs and it comes back. It's like NFL, but it's a 7. So it's like NF7 because the L is upside down. You never know. You never know.
Never know what you're going
I
to get.
have no idea what you're talking about.
Me neither. Sometimes you just have to shake your head and go with it.
You ever see like those?
It's been 2 years. You
like
think I would have figured that out
jerseys?
by now?
Nope.
But there are times where he just says stuff and I don't know.
All right.
You ever see those China jerseys? People like to order the NFL jerseys and like it'd be like a Ravens jersey, and then have like the Chiefs logo on the sleeve or something.
Gotcha. It's like somehow navy blue for some reason.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
it's like this Baker jersey back here, and like it says Pat Mahomes. You're like, hey, I don't think that's right. Is that Baker?
By that much.
DHgate.com.
Yeah, what's that?
DHgate.
Is that where you can buy them?
Hey, don't be promoting that kind of stuff around here.
They haven't paid for sponsorship.
I know the bootleg sites.
So let's get into it. Let's get into, though, this year's 2020 awards show for fantasy football from our perspective.
Right.
You know, I'm sure tons of people do these shows, but they're not me.
They're not you.
They're not I. They're not you.
You are a unique
They're not
individual.
her.
Oh my gosh.
Her?
Pussyfoot Price?
Pussyfoot and Price over there, 2021.
The nickname that keeps on giving.
What's the first award we want to give away today?
We're going to start small and work our way up. We're going to go with the Julio Jones Award. Now, there was a little confusion.
Explain this
There
award.
was a little confusion.
Because that could be interpreted about 3 or 4 different ways.
It could.
I interpret it different way because he's like, we're going to start small and work our way up. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Things are about to get real exciting around here.
Julio Jones Award goes to the player that is super old, but yet still seems to produce despite his age.
Super old's it's a very harsh term.
It is harsh.
For football players.
But for football players, for how well Julio Jones has produced over the course, especially even late into his career, despite being past the age of 30. So these are the seasoned veterans that keep on giving.
Yeah, I mean, Julio Jones is the outlier when it comes to receivers.
He is.
We
we dug into the numbers. Absolutely. He's like the only one that's gone 7 years or something like that.
7 years
of wide receiver 1 numbers. Yep.
Unreal.
7 years out of 10.
Yep.
Now, obviously, the alpha is Antonio Brown because he had 6 years of wide receiver 1 numbers, all 6 being top 3.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And it was straight too, right? There was
6
no
straight.
gaps in between.
All top 3 performances, all wide receiver 1. Where Julio was a wide receiver. We're getting this in our wide receiver analytics show. That's the wide receiver one will be on the Nerd Herd show. So here's a little teaser why you should join the Nerd Herd today. Not only for the Dynasty GM and, of course, the Dynasty Nerd film room, which you need right now. But Julio, even though he's a wide receiver 1 for 7 seasons, he only had 1 top 3 finish over the last decade.
It's crazy.
Weeks 1 through 16.
And that brings me back to my interpretation of the Julio Jones Award, which was you get a whole bunch of yards and no touchdowns, which is what I thought you were getting at when you said the Julio Jones Award.
Well, who would you, if that was the case, if that was the criteria for that award, Matt, who would have won that award for you in your eyes?
The closest person I could get to this year was Terry McLaurin because he only scored 4 touchdowns, but it was 4.
That would have made sense.
That's like 3 more than Julio.
And he had like 1,200, 1,300 yards. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a lot of yards, but it was not a lot of touchdowns.
It opened like a nice little buy window for him.
Yeah, I mean it could. I mean, as long as you're not rabid Ohio State fans like us. So.
Oh yeah, I'm rabid. Can't wait to get out there and draft Trey Sermon. Actually, I really can't. I'll take some of those shares. So Garrett, who did you nominate for your Julio Jones Award?
All right, for the Julio Jones Award for me, I ended up going with Marvin Jones. So I stuck with the same last name, Julio Jones, Marvin Jones. And he was a guy that really no one expected to be producing big numbers this year. He always had like those 2 or 3 games a season where he just absolutely blew up. But other than that, it was always, these 8-point games, 9-point games, and then 35, and then 6-point game. But this year, specifically because I think Kenny Golladay being out basically the entire season, which that was a weird thing in and of itself. But his game log, especially the second half of the year, was just absolutely absurd. He had, getting down the stretch here, 13 points, 18 points, 13 points, 23. Then he had kind of a little bit of a lull at 9 and 10. But then right before the playoffs, he put up a 25-pointer. During the playoffs, he put up 27 points. Finished the season off. Now, most people aren't playing week 17, 38 points. He just played so well all season that you were probably using him as your, at best case, wide receiver 3, worst case, maybe wide receiver 4 flex type of thing. And he was really productive for the most part this season. So he's the guy that is a little bit older, kind of forgotten about, but still producing despite his age.
Yeah, my award for this was pretty easy. It was Travis Kelce. At 31 years old, at the tight end position, still putting up freakish numbers here at tight end. the tight end won by a mile, right?
Right.
And
for the fifth straight
year, got a new contract, no signs of slowing down. I mean, the wheels got to fall eventually, but at 31 years old, almost setting the receiving yards record at the tight end position. To me, that alone, you can almost name this the Travis Kelce Award here coming soon if he keeps going. So guys like him, future Hall of Famers, Julio, outlier, Travis Kelce, an outlier. But I would still, I know we mentioned him as a good sell, but I would not be afraid as a contender to still buy Travis Kelce because going into next year, Sammy Watkins will be leaving off the Chiefs as well. He will still be the main weapon there to go along with Tyreek Hill. And Pat Mahomes is not slowing down anytime soon. And he besides Clyde Edwards-Helaire, with his new contract, he's the longest contract offensive weapon they have outside of Pat Mahomes on that new contract. So my award goes to Travis Kelce, 31 years old, still dominating a league winner. Where Marvin Jones is a great wide receiver.
Yeah, he was more of an under-the-radar guy. Yeah.
Travis Kelce was literally a difference maker to carrying you to playoffs to winning you a championship.
So my Julio Jones Award winner, after I pivoted away from Terry McLaurin very, very late and just kind of did this on the spot, but I thought of a guy, Aaron Rodgers, immediately. 37 years old, and he was a guy that at the beginning of the season, I put out the bold prediction that he was going to throw for 4,500 yards and at least 35 touchdowns. He didn't quite get to the 4,500 yards. I think he's right. He's 4,299 right now, but he blew the 35 touchdowns away. He's up at 48 right now.
48
touchdowns.
So 37 years old, still doing it. I figured that kind of qualifies as old and getting it done.
I have him for another category. He was my first inclination for this category, but I tried not to double up and use guys more than once. So only one award.
You only one award per person.
That's what I thought too. So
that's what I did. I went through my list and I was like one per piece. Here.
Yeah, we got to spread it out. Got to keep it fair.
So Aaron Rodgers, super flex league. He's gonna come out. He's probably gonna win MVP this year. Like Matt said, dominated.
Absolutely,
was not QB1, but still dominated.
Yeah.
Is Aaron
QB3.
Is Aaron Rodgers in a Superflex Dynasty League? Is he still a good buy?
I think so because I think in a lot of Superflex leagues we've been introduced to the new hotness. We have Justin Herbert. We have Joe Burrow. We have Rich Dotson. We're about to get Justin Fields. We're about to get Trevor Lawrence. There's so many good young quarterbacks that I think people think, Aaron Rodgers is old. And you'll be able to get him so much later, but still get probably 3 or 4 seasons of really, really good production.
And not to mention that there's still going to be that first-round quarterback kind of lurking. They just drafted him last year.
Yep.
In Jordan Love. So at least that plants a seed in people's head that, hey, he might be changing get a change of scenery here in the next year or two. Even though his production wouldn't say he's going to be changing teams. The moves that the front office made might at least put that in people's brains.
Yeah, he might be a good value that could be had where teams are looking to get out from under him, and you might be able to get him for a first.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he was a top 6 quarterback for the next 3 seasons, but yet you could draft him at quarterback 12, quarterback 14, somewhere in there at the back end of QB1 range. Just because you're not going to get quite the longevity. But you mention it all the time. 3 years in Dynasty Fantasy Football is a long time.
It's a lifetime.
So,
for a 3-year-old.
And who knows? He could end up being like Tom Brady, who is about to turn 44 years old and is likely going to be playing again next season.
And how many times he get passed around like, that little, no comment. So, and I agree. I think you could probably, you get in a Superflex league for like a mid to late first, you could probably get Aaron Rodgers, barring the team's not a contender.
Right.
So I'd still buy Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Next award goes to the wide receiver rookie cornerstone. Now, I think this should be a clean sweep. I don't think we have to go all around.
It is. I would assume.
It'd be Justin Jefferson.
Shocking.
What?
Yeah, come on.
Wide receiver 8 on the year. Scored the most yards ever for a rookie wide receiver, over 1,400 yards, and looked fantastic. And offsetting a guy like Adam Thielen, who also produced out there, and Dalvin Cook, who both were all wide receiver 1s and running back 1 as well. Now, I updated my dynasty rankings this week, and I moved Justin Jefferson my 4th overall wide receiver. I moved ahead of DK Metcalf. I moved ahead of A.J. Brown. Now, those are big-time players that I moved him ahead of that anybody would love to have. But Justin Jefferson is 21 years old. And I'm going to tell you guys, I I am the biggest DeAndre Hopkins fan out there. Like, he's one of my all-time favorite receivers. I think he's extremely talented. I had Hopkins forever as my dynasty wide receiver 1, but I gave him a slight bump down because I want to make Arizona, the whole Arizona gives me a little bit of worry out there. We saw a little bit of regression out of a guy like Kyler Murray. Cliff Kingsbury got a little bit more negativity coming his way this year. So
they missed the playoffs, and that's where a lot of that came from.
And Hopkins is still fine, but I was like, I can't put him ahead of Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams right now. Right. I just can't do it. Hill's a year younger or 2 years younger, and Adams is just a touchdown machine. So I just couldn't do that. And I thought to myself, I was like, with Justin Jefferson, yeah, clearly DeAndre Hopkins is a better receiver right now. It might be the better receiver long-term as well. He's one of the best I've seen to do it. But this isn't a Hall of Fame. This isn't what guy I want on my NFL team for 1 year. This is Dynasty Fantasy Football. And I was telling myself, with Justin Jefferson, I can see myself right now, and I'm pick 111 to 113 in a startup, and there's DeAndre Hopkins, and I take him ahead of a Justin Jefferson. And 11 months from now, I'm kicking myself in the ass for doing that, going, I could have a 22-year-old Justin Jefferson put up pretty close to the same numbers as DeAndre Hopkins, if not better, for the 2021 season, and I missed it. And
then you'd have him for the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, before he even starts to taper off and get old, or
taper off, man. 7 years, he hits 28. He's in his prime.
Right.
That's 7 years. We just said 3 years is a lifetime. So 3 more years of DeAndre Hopkins, it's great, right? That's great. But I envision that Jefferson's and Hopkins' numbers won't be drastically off out of the 2021 season. They weren't this year. So do I want 3 years of DeAndre Hopkins on a name value? Or do I go all in and say, I want 10 years of Justin Jefferson, 9 years of Justin Jefferson? That is an absolute dynasty lifetime. And I think, we were talking about this before show, like Jared mentioned as well, like sometimes you got to be bold in startups. And I said, if I had a 112 in a startup draft, I would have no problem going Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson for the cornerstone of my franchise. And this award is the running back rookie or wide receiver rookie cornerstone. To me, I think Justin Jefferson is that guy. He's a franchise cornerstone. And there's not even the guys ahead of him. Like, okay, Tyreek Hill is a franchise cornerstone at 26. Devontae Adams at 28. Is he really a cornerstone, or is he a league winner?
I was going to say he's a league winner. If you're drafting him early, you're going for it immediately. You know what I mean? That you're going for it. That you're probably going to be bringing out a lot of older players, and then trying to mix in the younger players. That's going to be your strategy in your startup.
100%. So like, if you would feel really good on paper about like AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. Like if that's your wide receiver core, like I'm good for 8 years.
You just named my wide receiver.
I know it's a good cornerstone one. So for me, that's what I feel about Justin Jefferson. What about you guys for this?
Go. I'll let Matt go because this is your boy. So go ahead.
Listen, I mean, I'm not going to go nuts. I mean, you've already waxed poetic here. It's 1,400 yards. It's 88 grabs. It's 7 touchdowns on 125 targets. In his rookie year, it's never been done. I mean, going back to, I don't think ever, right? I mean,
it's never been done.
I mean, he was approaching the record before, like they took all the stats, blah blah blah.
Right.
And then he blew it out of the water. It's 1,400 yards. It's never been done. So it's rarefied air. He's exceeded my expectations. You know what I mean? Like I was the highest one on him, and I didn't even see this much production coming. It was
impossible. He'd been the first overall pick. I mean, first besides quarterback. But what's crazy too is remember Justin Jefferson didn't start hot out the gates.
No, he didn't.
No, his first 2 weeks were what, like 2 catches and 3 catches, or
2 catches and 3 catches, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're talking about a 14-week window here, because obviously we go through weeks 1 through 16. We do our fantasy stats here because that's the fantasy season for most people. But yeah, you're talking about like in a 14-week window, got him up to wide receiver 8 and like all-time numbers here. And we saw that out of, and we saw the same thing out of a quarterback. You could, in a super flex league, you make the same argument with it's Justin Herbert, right?
Sure.
Or you saw enough out of
same type of guy. Yep.
Or you saw enough out of a guy like Joe Burrow, right? Herbert right now to me is a franchise cornerstone in a super flex league, a 21-year-old quarterback that just broke an all-time rookie
record for touchdowns.
Yep. It's about to bring it in. I think the Chargers' biggest fault has been Anthony Lynn holding them back. They're going to bring in a head coach for the Chargers for Justin Herbert and help develop him and keep him going. I think Daboll would be a great head coach for the Chargers. What are your thoughts on Jefferson?
So literally while we were talking, this was something that I was kind of considering too. So I actually currently have Justin Jefferson at wide receiver 5, and I have DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver 6. So I'm in the same boat. I think it's the changing of the guard time. It's time to put him up there.
Who's at 4?
I have Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs.
So
Justin
you have A.J.
Jefferson.
Brown ahead of him, which, again, I wouldn't argue that. And I have A.J. Brown behind Hopkins, but I wouldn't argue you're splitting hairs. You know, if somebody's like, hey, dude, why do you have Hopkins ahead of A.J. Brown? I'm like, dude, we're talking 3 spots. Like,
and it's age. I mean, that's age related.
That's
you know
age,
what I
yep.
mean? That's what it is. You're getting extra years on both those guys.
But I'd have no problem with Corey Davis probably leaving out of Tennessee. I'd have no problem taking A.J. Brown in the first. I'd have no problem with that. I would have no problem if you were an A.J. Brown truther and you took him first overall amongst receivers.
Well, and the crazy part is A.J. Brown, he actually missed, 2 or 3 games at the very beginning of the season and still finished as a wide receiver 1.
Yep.
His points per game was sick.
It was absolutely absurd.
Yeah, he's another stud. So Justin Jefferson, clearly
The cornerstone,
cornerstone.
I had an honorable mention because I knew we were going to be a clean sweep. I knew it was going to be Justin Jefferson, as it should be. My honorable mention for me was T. Higgins. I think he's a guy that will be a cornerstone piece of franchises for a long time. I love what he did in his rookie season, especially while Joe Burrow was there. Lots of big games, lots of touchdowns. Obviously, once Joe Burrow left, that hindered what he was able to do. But,
right. I mean, you're working with second and third, basically third-string quarterbacks.
Right. Yeah. When we have Finley in there and we have Allen in there and guys like that, but he would be the next guy on my list right now. Outside, it's a gap. It's obviously it's Justin Jefferson, but he would be the next guy.
Really, see, my CeeDee Lamb would be mine.
as my second,
and I wouldn't even say that gap. Like I wouldn't even say that gap. Honestly, for what I saw out of CeeDee Lamb, the gap between I would say Jefferson and T. Higgins, the gap is pretty significant. The gap between CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson for me isn't anything too crazy. I think the one thing that hinders it is a little bit of having a guy like Amari Cooper there. But I think we should all remember back early in the season when Dak Prescott was quarterback.
Oh, he was a monster. Yep.
Early in the season when no offseason, CeeDee Lamb was a wide receiver 1.
I was going to say, you all the same arguments you made for T. Higgins, you can make for...
I have CD3 right now, so I
Right.
have no issue with that whatsoever. Yep.
This whole wide receiver class as a whole.
Honestly, I thought about just putting multiple and just putting like 4 or 5 of them and be like, these are my wide receiver cornerstone nominees of the year.
And even the guys that didn't produce, like we're starting to see flashes from like Bryan Edwards.
Yeah.
He had 50 yards in a catch or in a touchdown catch this past week. So I mean, even the ones that haven't quite gotten there yet are working their way toward getting there.
Yeah, I would say, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this when we do our 2019 rookie redraft show. 2020 redraft show is all these rookie wide receivers that aren't hot names right now are hot buys for me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I want all of them.
Yep.
From Denzel Mims to Brandon Ayuk, who is somebody who I wasn't as big on. You
Had
can
a great
easily,
year.
You can push him to the head of that list of somebody who could be super successful. Definitely the 49ers go out there and trade for a guy like Matt Stafford, right?
Sure.
But all those guys, Henry Ruggs, Brian
Didn't you say there
Edwards.
was a 0% chance of that a couple weeks ago
What?
when we were talking about Matt Stafford leaving the Lions?
That was last year, Garrett.
Okay. All right. I was just making sure that I wasn't crazy and I forgot about that.
So I'm wondering here on our next award if we're all going to be on the same page, if it's going to be a clean sweep as well, just like Justin Jefferson. Our running back rookie cornerstone. Matt, we'll let you go first. Who is your running back rookie cornerstone?
Tip of the hat, sir. Jonathan Taylor.
Thank you.
Are you Jonathan Taylor?
I did have Jonathan Taylor as well.
It's another clean sweep.
Hey-o.
A unanimous selection of the rookie
Look
running
at
back
that.
cornerstone.
2 for 2.
And honestly, that's like basically flipping it on its head for the top 4 or top 3 for me. Obviously early on in the process, he probably was 4th. Just on the pre-draft
slow
type.
yep.
Yeah, and then he bumped up, and then landing spot. I think I had him at 3. That was the highest I ever had him pre-draft or pre-rookie drafts anyway.
Right.
And really, there was that lull in the middle of the season where it looked like he was running in the back offensive lineman and he wasn't going to get it. And he exploded the second half of the season. He's just gone nuts. They've given him the full workload. He's looked awesome. And there's just no denying that he looks amazing and it looks like he's got everything.
He looks like the Wisconsin running back that we saw on tape that we would hope. But I think I moved Jonathan Taylor up very significantly in my dynasty rankings.
Sure.
I have him as my, I think, 4th overall running back. I've moved him ahead of Zeke. He's ahead of Nick Chubb. He's ahead of He's right behind Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley.
I think I have him 5th right now. So
Dalvin,
about the same range.
I think so. And right behind Kamara and Cook, I think is right there.
Okay.
And like Matt said, we're looking at 2 different running backs, and we talked about this right around week 6. Like this, his vision's not there. He was doing some of the Isaiah Correll running to the back of his offensive lineman. Like things weren't looking good. Right. And then you mentioned Garrett, like we didn't say, hey, sell him. Like let's give him a year. Hopefully he can put together, but he needs to put together. And then from week 7 on, he put together. Finished the year as running back 7. And the most impressive thing for Jonathan Taylor for me is the fact that he had a 91% catch rate, right?
Yeah.
If you guys remember back, my biggest diss on Jonathan Taylor was
his hands.
And I was really worried about would he be able to transfer that to the NFL? And you guys have brought it up. Like, well, all Wisconsin running backs catch better in the NFL. Look at James White. Look at Melvin Gordon. I was like, yeah, but he had that 16% drop rate of catchable balls that he did have. So it worried me that it was like a hands issue. He cleared that up right away. The offensive line's still fantastic. Yep. The scheme's fantastic. And now they know that he's fantastic. They're going to feed Jonathan Taylor. If you like guys like Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor is going to be better than Derrick Henry because he's going to catch the football more. And he plays in a dome. The sky's the limit. He's a cornerstone. And I don't like taking running backs in the first round. And what's nice about a guy like Jonathan Taylor is you don't have to take him in the front, right? Like I would never take a guy like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook in startup because they're going to go pretty high in the first. And I would just rather grab one of those receivers.
Trade down
in the
a
first.
little bit.
Absolutely.
Or trade back. Jonathan Taylor. And same thing with Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. This isn't like a huge stretch for me, right? Like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I bet if you ask the Dynasty community right now, a lot of people will put Clyde Edwards-Helaire probably 4th. I bet you get some crazy people behind Antonio Gibson because Antonio Gibson finishes running back 12 on the year. Mm-hmm. But I think people got to remember, too, going into the Le'Veon Bell signing, almost, not even that, all the way to the end of the year, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a running back 1.
Yeah, he had a good start to his season.
DeAndre Swift shows enough where I've seen, I saw Rob McDowell for DLF. He put out there like Swift was like the number 1 right behind Taylor in a first-round startup. Swift was up there. But J.K. Dobbins averaged the most rushing yards of any running back in the NFL this year at 6 yards per carry. Right, he's 1 ahead of Nick Chubb, who averaged like 5.7, right around there. J.K. Dobbins was number 1. Antonio Gibson.
Guess who else had 5.7? Random fact. Random player that had over 70 carries that averaged 5.7 as well.
Kareem Hunt.
Sony Michel.
Sony Michel?
Yeah, I was looking through stats today.
He's back.
5.7 yards per carry.
He finished the year strong again.
He did.
He
He's
did.
a trickster.
Just enough for us
He's
to buy
a
him.
trickster. We'll be talking about him.
Stop that, Sony. Don't you do this to us again.
He does it to me all the time, man. I can't quit you, just like I couldn't quit Gordon Davis. But so we have Antonio Gibson on that list too, right? And then Cam Akers and James Robinson. This is one of the strongest, going back to that Christian McCaffrey draft, this is one of the strongest drafts of rookie running backs I have ever seen.
Ever.
If not the best, because even that Christian McCaffrey draft, like there's still a handful of those guys, but we're talking Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Antonio Gibson, Cam Akers,
James Robinson.
and James Robinson. That's 7, with the potential of a very long shot. I'm talking like you need a rocket to get it there, of Zach Moss and Keyshawn Vaughn potentially somehow get an opportunity in 2021.
And it pains me to say it because I know he's not anything special, but people love him. A.J. Dillon would be in that same category
And
as
A.J.
well.
Dillon is in that category
Forgot about that guy.
Actually, I moved A.J. Dillon significantly up my Dynasty rankings on the strict idea of him. I don't like
Aaron
the player
Jones
a
being
lot.
gone.
Of Aaron Jones being gone.
Absolutely, you have
Second
to.
round pick, and they bring in that pass catcher running back to offset him. And with Aaron Rodgers, he'll get the touchdowns enough. Like,
Or even if they just bring back Jamal Williams.
I was going to say, isn't Jamal Williams gone too?
Both of them are free agents, so we'll have to see.
That's what I mean. Sorry. Both of them are free agents.
Yeah, don't you remember everybody else was drafting Jamal Williams in the first? And I was like, dude, draft Aaron Jones out of UTEP.
Aaron Jones.
So the strongest rookie running back class. It's a great year to. In my eyes, there's never been a better year to do a dynasty startup with knowledge than now, because you can attack some really good young receivers, and there's going to be running backs for you there later. Like, you don't have to force that issue. We've talked about this before, like the influx of talent at running back. It's no longer a depleted position. Right. Like, you still need them, and you need a lot of them, but it's no longer that depleted position.
As desperate as before. And that's one of the reasons I got excited about Devy is we kind of started seeing this a couple years in advance, that, hey, this class is good. We had been talking about it for years, basically since I got on the show, was
the 2020 class coming in 2 years.
2020 class, and then we started hyping up 2021. And we know that right now we're not in love with 2022, but that's the nice part is you can start like planning your picks in advance. You don't have to even play Devy. Just be friends with somebody that plays Devy.
In 2022, we get it there too. I mean, you guys, guys like Garrett Wilson is going to be.
They got some good receivers, but it's the other
in
positions that I'm a little worried about.
But we'll see. It's playing time. There's always players that come out of there. So next award here, show is going to be the biggest faller, Zeke Elliott.
Zeke Elliott. The biggest faller, Zeke Elliott. Yeah.
It's in my eyes. That's my award.
That was who I picked as well. I had a backup.
You had the same guy?
I had Zeke as well.
Yeah.
I had Leonard Fournette. He went from running back 7 last year all the way down to running back 35, basically irrelevant. So I wasn't sure if it was year
biggest
over
faller,
year,
not the guy who passed away,
or if it was this, or if it was over the course of the year. The guy.
Yeah, I guess that's open for interpretation. I was thinking more startup drafts is what I was thinking.
Gotcha.
And so he didn't go super high in startups this year.
I think we just need to get together on these interpretations.
Just little rules.
Clearly, I think way differently than you.
Leonard Fournette was running back what?
7 last year.
What was he tight end wise?
Tight end 1. No.
I actually put out a mock draft today. I always do those on Twitter, and I accidentally put Zamir White as a tight end.
Nice.
Somebody was like, falling in Leonard Fournette shoes, eh?
Already.
So I actually had 2 players here. I could have gone either way.
I wonder if the other one's the same because I have 2 as well.
I have Zeke Elliott and Michael Thomas.
Oh, I didn't put Michael Thomas. I had Carson Wentz.
So
the other one.
I have Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
he has a different category.
He's coming.
He's coming for me.
Oh no,
Zeke Elliott. I think we both have Zeke Elliott. So let's talk about that for a minute. Leonard Fournette.
we don't need to discuss that much.
We all know.
Yep.
Okay.
We just hope he's playing next year.
If you can't finish as a tight end too, you don't belong in fantasy football because anybody could be a tight end too.
Absolutely.
It's true.
So Zeke Elliott. We mentioned we bumped him behind Jonathan Taylor, a guy who's had 4 years of running back 1 production, which is an outlier by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And we just saw a big step back. And we just mentioned this influx of young running back talent. It's like, why take a risk, right? Now, if I had to say odds are, Zeke's going to bounce back in 21.
Probably so.
But why not just get younger at this point, right?
If you're able to, and that's gonna be the thing is how savvy is your league? How much is your league paying attention? Because in the dynasty community, I think everyone's dropped him significantly. So at this point, you're not getting J.K. Dobbins for Zeke. Probably You're not getting DeAndre Swift for you'd be lucky to get Antonio Gibson for Zeke Elliott at this point. And that's going to be the tough part. So it's all depending on where people are valuing him. But maybe in a startup this year, if you're, kind of fading the running back position, maybe he could be a target to trade for later or something like that.
That's the thing. He's probably honestly turned into really good value.
Right.
In hindsight, like Zeke's probably, as of today, he's probably really good value. But for this award, like I'm not hating on Zeke.
He lost a ton of value this year.
But you go from being 3rd overall in startups to 3rd overall to late 2nd at best on Zeke.
That is,
best.
I mean, it's a big fall. And I think, that there was that point in the season where he was fumbling like crazy. Like you said, I mean, it's just, it's hard to, he looked slower. That was the thing. Like he just didn't look as explosive and as fast. And everyone saw it. You know what I mean? So down he starts plummeting.
Yeah. Tony Pollard showed it.
Right.
So, Pollard looked great.
All right. Before we go to the next word, how about a word from our sponsor? That's right. Our friends at Manscaped are back to kick off the new year. Happy New Year's from our sponsor, Manscaped. Is the best men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision engineered tools for your family jewels, and is here to help you have clean balls in the new year. Ring in the new year with the right tools for the job. Listen, I've got the Manscaped. You've got the Manscaped lawnmower.
I got it as well. Yep.
They also send you this lotion. Do you guys get sent?
I didn't get the lotion. No, you must not have sent that to us.
I have 2 bottles of it. Well, my wife actually bought me a Manscaped for Christmas.
Oh,
That's
gotcha.
probably where I got the
It's a
lotion.
part of this lotion. Oh, it smells fantastic.
Nice.
Tell my wife all the time, like, hey, I got this smelling lotion. You want to check it out? She's like, no. I'm like, okay. So right now,
Get a pass.
Manscaped is here to give you a New Year's resolution that you can actually want to keep. The perfect package 3.0 is below the waist grooming package you need to start off the strong year with, right? Manscaped. It's still cold outside. Doesn't mean you need to be walking around like Garrett here and look like a Sasquatch, right? You got to bonsai that bush. You got to get down to the nitty gritty. Matt, you said it. What's the point of having a nice garden?
Trim up your trees, man.
Trim
Come
them
on.
up, man.
Yep.
Sweet and succulent.
Yep.
So come out of quarantine with clean balls thanks to the Lawnmower 3.0. This waterproof and skin-safe trimmer will reduce nicks to your two best friends. The third generation trimmer has a light so you can shine light and promise on the 2021 that should be way better than 2020. And now
we all need a little bit of light right now.
Yeah, we need to bring sexy back in 2021, guys. We need to do this. Ladies, you got a guy? He's getting a little lazy down below because he's in the house all the time? Clean him up, Manscaped. And right now, you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code NERDS at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Again, get 20% off and free shipping with the code NERDS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com. Use that promo code NERDS. Happy new balls. So let's get into our new awards. I love Manscaped. I do. I absolutely. It's one of those products for me. It's easy to like promote because I absolutely
you use it.
it.
You like it.
I like it. I love it. My wife appreciates it too.
Thought he was going country song there.
So did I.
I want some more of it.
I don't listen to country music. Like I'm a big country.
I don't either.
I'm a big music guy. Like I love all music. Like and there's some country songs I like, but just country doesn't.
Yeah.
They all sound the same.
But it's old school. I think everyone knows that song.
And I'm
like
with you. I don't.
love it.
Yeah.
I want some. That's all I know.
I don't do.
That's
a
all
lot
I know
of,
too,
I don't do a
but
lot
that's
of
where I thought
country,
you were going.
but I knew that line. Yep.
Know what country song I really like?
What's that?
It is straight country. Randy Travis, Forever and Ever, Amen. Real old.
Forever and ever, amen.
This guy could not be a country singer if he tried.
Sounds just like Randy Travis. What are you talking about?
Yeah, sure didn't. But yeah. On to the next award. Biggest riser. Garrett, you have not let us. Well, you did lead us off the first
I
question.
started right off,
But listen, it's like a baseball team. We're going through rotation, buddy. You're back up.
I'm back up.
Knock out of the park. I like that Randy Travis interpretation.
Biggest riser for me, Josh Allen.
Ooh, after Manscaped.
That was gonna be mine, by the way.
Hey!
I really like Josh Allen.
Mine's Josh Allen, too.
Is it really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, so Josh Allen this season.
Trying to bunt?
Well, I thought he was going to talk about his different one.
Different what?
You
He
go
had
ahead.
a different one. He
You
said
go
I
ahead.
had, and then he stopped.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Josh Allen this season took a big step forward. We always knew he was a good athlete. He had shown that. Lots of rushing production. Basically was their goal line back. Lots of rushing touchdowns. So we thought, you know what, maybe with the emergence of, getting Stephon Diggs on this team, maybe he'll be a little bit better. He went from being one of the least efficient quarterbacks in the entire league to being one of the most efficient quarterbacks.
He wasn't even at 60%.
No.
Passing,
His first year, I believe he was at 51%, up to like 56.
57, something like that. It was high 50s.
Yeah. And now he's absolutely just killing it. And the thing is, it's not just, okay, he's changed his game to, I'm going to dink and dunk now so I can be more accurate. No, he's still throwing bombs downfield. He's just continuing to make play after play after play. The emergence of Stephon Diggs on this team, I think, absolutely changed the game for Josh Allen.
Let me stop you there.
Okay.
Stephon Diggs is my guy.
Hey!
2021, new year, new
2021.
day.
I had to put him in there. He's topped out at 1,100 yards.
Wait, is this your biggest riser?
Yeah, biggest riser, Stephon Diggs.
They hand in hand.
Right where we always had him.
Exactly. So for me, I was always lower on this guy. I would say I was out on a limb.
Yeah.
Especially in this room. But he put it together. I mean, this is the first year he's been healthy the entire way, and and him and Josh Allen just have that special connection that you were discussing, and it's taken to the next level. 1,500 yards, 1,535 yards, 127 catches. It's
led NFL in receiving yards and receptions.
Yep. So he's taken his game to the next level. It's undeniable. Stephon Diggs is a great wide receiver.
And Diggs is probably in a startup the best value you'll find in Dynasty Fantasy Football, where he'll go, even though he just did this with these kind of numbers, in a startup draft, he would still go behind all the guys we just mentioned and maybe even a couple more.
Well, he's 27 and he finally just did it. You know what I mean? Like, he's done it a little bit. He's shown flashes. He's looked really good.
He's 27, but
he's never done it this consistently.
DeAndre Hopkins is 28.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is 26. Devontae Adams is 28. Michael Thomas is 27.
They put together multiple years of being like these very steady wide receiver ones.
He just hasn't been paying attention.
No, Diggs has been an up and down roller coaster for part of it due to like when he's injured, he just isn't as effective.
During the season, up and down. He always had the numbers at the end of the season, but it was the in-season stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to my biggest riser, then I agree with why I'm pick Josh Allen. It's nice that we're all tied in here to the same guy.
Buffalo Bills, man.
But yeah, Josh Allen for me too. Right, a super young quarterback, 23, 24 years old. I moved him up in my Superflex rankings, the 2 overall.
Ooh,
that's That's not that
though.
crazy. I mean, look at the stats. I mean,
he's gotten better every
amazing.
single year. That arm is to die for. Diggs will get a new contract. He's there.
He ended up being the top quarterback through 17 weeks. He ended up being the top quarterback this season.
Another rookie who showed promise after some of these other guys fade out, Gabriel Davis, a really strong rookie class in here. Dawson Knox to take a big step forward here, or maybe they grab a really good, maybe they like a second round, they get a Pat Fryermuth out of Penn State, something along those lines.
Shock me.
But they're going to build around Josh Allen. Like, this is the franchise right here. And when I see a running back or a receiver that could move and run like Josh Allen can, and then could throw the ball like Josh Allen, a la a John Elway, a Matt Stafford, that kind of arm, but with the mobility of a Cam Newton, Dynasty gold. You know, he's got the mobility like a guy like Kyler Murray, but he's got the better arm and better size than Kyler Murray. So he bumps him ahead of there. Russell Wilson, age, I'm taking, in the fade off in the second half, I'm taking Josh Allen ahead of him. Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, it's just still Josh Allen. So for me, there's no other, even Deshaun Watson. Like, I love Deshaun Watson. He's mobile, but that team's a mess right now. It's a mess.
That whole second tier is super interesting because
it is.
You have like 6 guys that are worthy of it. Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. All of those guys, definitely Baker Mayfield.
100% Baker Mayfield.
I mean, well, we assumed he was 1. So, I just didn't think to talk about it.
He's not 1 by any means. But I think he's a very quality fantasy quarterback. But if you ask me right now, if I had a second overall pick in the Dynasty Superflex startup, there's no way. There's no way I'm not taking Josh Allen. There's just no way.
Sure.
He was the number 1 quarterback this year. We mentioned how great of a year Aaron Rodgers had. He was MVP. The number 1 fantasy quarterback was Josh Allen. Was the number 1 fantasy quarterback. This is in his 3rd year.
3rd year. Yep.
He was a developmental quarterback coming to the league. He's still developing.
Yep.
He was a guy that could throw the ball 80 yards. You know what I mean? Coming out of college, but he couldn't hit the ball outside of the barn. And he's come leaps and bounds.
Well, and they talked a lot about the work that he did with Jordan Palmer, which is Carson Palmer's brother.
Right.
It sounded like he put in a ton of work in the offseason, even stuff with, how he's doing his lower body, his arming. Like, they've really reworked him. The amazing part is, though, that he was able to actually correct all of those things. Because I remember they wanted to do that with Tim Tebow.
Oh, yeah.
I remember they wanted
to do it with a bunch of people. Yeah.
Exactly. So the fact that this late in his career, I know he's young, but at the NFL level, guys aren't usually changing like that. Mm-hmm. So it was probably the smart bet to say he's going to stay relatively the same. But the fact that he was able to do this is absolutely incredible.
It really is. Even a guy, like I said, Lamar Jackson, I would take his accuracy, his arm over Lamar Jackson with his mobility. Lamar offers you more mobility, but probably a shorter lifetime of fantasy success. So Josh Allen, biggest riser, leaps and bounds for me. So let's move on here. And, of course, remember, all this is on YouTube. We have a lot of YouTube content coming on here, so you want to watch the award show. We actually are starting to put out, if you like the Dynasty Nerds podcast, we always get comments all the time, like, I wish you guys would do a show every day. I wish you would do a show every day. Well, you're going to get a little bit more of that because we're going to start having different, so you can find a podcast on YouTube.
Right.
But now you can also find individual shows. Me and Matt just recorded a show on running backs, wide receivers. On Alvin Kamara, is he a buy or sell? I did my top 3 to begin the offseason buys. You did your top Dynasty. Garrett did his top.
5 things to do in the offseason.
So there's tons of YouTube content coming. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notifications button, leave a comment, let us know what you think. But the YouTube show is, we're going to put a lot of effort in that as well. So if you like the podcast, make sure you get on there, like, subscribe, comment, hit that notifications button. Next award, most likely to disappear in 2021. Matt, back to you.
Well,
David Copperfield.
Harry
Houdini.
Pulling that ghost.
David Blaine.
He was a good one. But
not your midsection after using Manscaped.
No.
Hello, friends.
You'll see all of it.
All of it.
All of it. But my most likely to disappear is somebody that I kind of put down at the beginning of the year. He kind of showed me a little something more than I thought, but I think he started fading towards the end, and it's Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, so it'd be Ronald Jones.
No, I honestly, after.
He was right about Teddy Bridgewater, by the way.
He is a meh quarterback. Tentative Teddy, and even the head coach came out and basically he didn't come out and fully endorse him as a starter next year. Said he's got to get better, and the writing is on the wall. They're a crappy team. They don't have a great record.
Sure,
the writing is on the wall. He is not a dynasty nerd. He
is not part of the nerd herd.
He is not a part of the nerd herd. He's a backup quality type of guy. He's a guy that can come in and win you a couple of games, but he's not a franchise type of quarterback. They even in week 17 they tried PJ Walker out for stretches of that game because Teddy Bridgewater was just mediocre, and I feel like that is in a nutshell is what he is at this stage of his career. I think he had a lot of promise before the knee injury, but even then it wasn't like high upside for fantasy relevance. So here it is. I think he's going to disappear. I also had another guy, but hopefully one of you guys. If not, I'll just throw him in at the end if you guys don't cover him.
Garrett?
So I thought the most obvious answer for me was James Conner. I think James Conner could easily just poof and be gone next year. So he was the most obvious answer. But Jared and I had a very deep, very in-depth discussion on the way here.
Deep thoughts.
And it hurt my heart to hear this one. But the more I thought about it, he could be right. There's a chance Mike Williams could be that guy.
No, you're just doing that to mess with me.
I didn't want to.
Wait,
but
don't you have to appear to disappear?
You guys.
Hey,
I like Mike Williams. I have him on several teams.
I love him too. I traded 22 first for him to begin this offseason, and I just kicked myself in the balls for doing it.
But when you have Justin Herbert as your starting quarterback,
You can kick yourself in the balls?
Yeah.
Seems like hard to do.
Remember that old song? Swing low, sweet
Try it, you won't.
chariot.
show us or it didn't happen.
It's all fake news, by the
All
way.
right.
There.
I'm a taut gentleman.
But it's tough because I do really like Mike Williams, and you see the flashes. The
Like this
flashes are
past-
always there.
This last week, jeez, oh man, did he get it? Did he get it? I didn't see.
Oh, I'm not connecting, but I could do it. I just had to prove it to myself.
We gotta move these helmets for these antics.
Yeah, I know they can't see.
This show is rated PG-13, Jared.
Those are there for a reason.
Come on, keep dissing Mike Williams.
But he's just never been able to do it consistently. He's always banged up. He's always injured.
Listen, as far as
It's tough, man.
I've been riding this thing for so long with Mike Williams.
Way
You're
too
going down with the ship.
He had him in his top 12 dynasty wide receivers. Somebody wrote us like, I think Matt made a mistake, and Matt wrote back like, I made no mistakes.
I know exactly what I did.
I made a mistake.
You made a
guys.
mistake?
Guys, I made a mistake.
We do though, but we do. We talked about it on the
Gals,
show. Like you gotta put yourself out
Made
there.
a mistake.
And I was with you. I was.
Hey, you gave us Justin Jefferson. You're allowed to have this one.
Thank you.
Well, I'm with you as well, saying if you can't get it done with Justin Herbert, and that's like your strength, like going downfield, and he still showed some promise. It's just
never consistent enough.
you're
It is
not going to put it
never
together
consistent
in my
enough.
eyes.
Well, he's going to get a new landing spot. He was.
Hopefully, it gives him new life.
We'll see, but I don't.
Robert Woods.
I'm with you there. I don't know.
You would hope.
Fingers
Corey Davis.
crossed.
He has a ton of talent. You know what I mean? It's there.
He's a top 10 pick in the NFL draft for a reason.
Yep.
Just like Corey Davis was. 2021.
We'll
Are we
see.
back?
Yeah, we'll see.
What are the balls?
It's a thing that it's.
Kicked him.
You kicked him?
Is he
Not
tough
so
enough?
shiny
You
right now.
kicked him. They're gone.
Hey, he's soft.
Yeah, we were talking about, is he mentally tough enough too?
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing. Is there something that's not connecting up here?
And that's the thing. And that's the thing you can never gauge by looking
can never
at the
know.
tape. You never really know. It's only time will tell.
I'm looking in the balls. Singular ball. The one's a little swollen right now.
Other one's out of commission.
Sweet balls.
Singular.
Will Mike Williams be Corey Davis in 2021?
I don't want to hear this. I don't don't think.
Please ask again later.
Oh. Ask again later.
Ooh, possibility. Hey, there's
Still
a
too early.
possibility.
So
there.
you're saying there's a chance.
That's what, you beat me to the punch, but you're saying there's a chance.
I
love it.
My guy was. I thought mine was pretty easy. Was Mike Davis, 27-year-old running back, Carolina. Christian McCaffrey coming back, finishes running back 11 on the year.
Yep.
You had plenty of time in that postseason to get out from under him. But yeah, he's not going to be relevant. He's that 1 year wonder.
He is a 1 year wonder. Yep. And he's done it before in stretches.
Yeah, I get knocked
Chicago,
down, I get up
Seattle.
again.
Yep.
He's Chumbawamba.
Exactly.
So moving on, because we're running out of time here. We got some more awards to give away.
We got a few more.
How about the Phillip Lindsay Award?
Ooh, Phillip Lindsay Award.
Garrett, explain the Phillip Lindsay Award since you created this Phillip Lindsay Award.
I did create the Phillip Lindsay Award, and I think it's going to be a unanimous vote, and we're going to rename the award after this show here. But it's basically the player that nobody knew anything about that came out of nowhere to have a great fantasy season.
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis would have been a very good candidate. But I think
Let the audience think about this for a second. It should be a running back that comes out of nowhere and establishes
maybe
himself.
even not a Division I school.
1,000-yard rusher.
It doesn't have to be a running back, though.
It does not have to be a running back.
Oh, Justin Jefferson.
No one knew anything about him.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't. Chase Claypool.
That would be
Close.
Garrett's biggest miss of the year. That would be that category.
All right, who's the winner? The hype's.
James Robinson.
James Robinson.
We don't need to
Easy,
explain it.
slam dunk.
I think the biggest question here would be in Dynasty is, are you buying James Robinson? Now, I'm never buying running backs.
Sure.
Well, for certain price tags. I feel like James Robinson's price tag right now is Jared just did a video on what to do with James Robinson. You said the price tag was 2 first. I was like, I would never.
That's way too high for me. Yeah.
Oh, way too high.
But if I have him, that's what I have to sell him for. I'm not giving less than
I
that.
don't think I would. This is a guy you either.
Dude, while he was healthy, he was a top 4 running back in a team that had terrible game scripts. Is about to get Trevor Lawrence on their team. The only question for me, I only have one question, is the new staff in love with him as much as the old staff was? That's the only question.
That is the question. That's it. That's the question. That you don't have to ask any other questions. That's the question. And we don't even know the staff to know.
We don't know
their tendencies and what they who they like, what kind of running backs they favor.
Urban Meyer.
Could be
not happening.
Right,
saying there's a chance.
That's the hot rumor now that Urban Meyer's headed there on a $12 million a year contract.
I'd hire Joe Brady personally.
It'd be a good hire.
It would be a nice hire, but getting back to your question, we have no idea. This is a 5'10", 220-pound back. You know that he seems to do everything really well. He catches the ball out of the backfield really nicely. You know, he got over 1,000 yards in his rookie season, even missing it the last 2 games. So he's a nice player. Where does he fit on a new team? They could easily turn the page on an undrafted guy. That's the big worry.
But the nice part about an undrafted guy is the contract is so super cheap.
Yeah.
So that's the balance there. Is like,
yeah,
if we don't like him, we can get rid of him real easy. We have nothing invested in him. But then the flip side is like, do I really want to pay someone $6 million a year when this guy's going to do just as well, if not better?
Yeah, for $300,000 a year.
Exactly.
No, I again, like if you own James Robinson, you're probably asking for 2 firsts, which is so far out of my price range, it's ridiculous. Because one, there's some questions. I'm not giving 2 firsts for any running back that has any questions whatsoever.
I don't think I would give it either, but that's what I'm asking for if somebody wants him.
Top 5 running back this year. But I mean, I think going into next year, or here's a better question. Is James Robinson a running back 1 in 2021?
With the right staff, absolutely.
I say no.
But it all depends on the staff. I can't tell you without knowing.
There's just too many other good running backs I would put ahead of him right now, like guys like Saquon coming back, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor,
every year there's going to be guys that get hurt, though.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb. Yeah, you're right. There's tons of guys. Travis Etienne on the Steelers.
I was going to say history would tell you that he's not going to. Because it's an undrafted guy. He popped out of nowhere. I mean, him repeating being a running back 1, you know, the numbers would probably tell you that it's not a great percentage chance.
If you're a running back 1 once, the odds of being a running back 1 again, just one more time,
it's like 27%.
27%.
Yeah.
The odds you do it 2 more times is 14%. And after that, it drops down to under 1%. So hashtag 2 to 3 year window. James Robinson, to me, clearly falls into that hashtag 1 year window where he probably will.
He'll probably produce at running back 2 numbers.
Running back 2 numbers.
You know, I think you can safely say
history
that.
tells us that, right? So if you can get a first plus, like you're saying a first, that's what I want. For a guy that I got for free off the waiver wire, or for a guy that I drafted real late, I would be happy with this draft class with a first round pick and a second round pick, or a first round pick and a guy with like some upside, right? Like a guy that might offer me something back, you know, like even a guy like a Nelson Aguilar, right? Who showed with the Raiders that he's still really talented. You know, he could put really talented.
But you picked the wrong receiver on that team. Brian Edwards, yes.
I'm sorry, not Aguilar, but like Brian Edwards and a first, right? Like something along those lines.
That would be closer for me.
For James Robinson. That's what my target would be personally. Let's move on. Another award here to give away is the non-injury least valuable player.
Okay, so if I were to make an exception for the rule of having 2 guys, this would easily be Zeke.
I have 3 guys.
But I have another guy because I didn't want to break the rule.
My number one guy, I think easy, is Carson Wentz.
He could easily fall into that.
Yep, absolutely.
Didn't get injured.
Especially super flex.
But boy, man, did he suck up the job pretty good. I mean, talking about it. That too many jokes came to mind there. Terrible.
Many jokes.
So Carson Wentz, I thought that was an easy one.
That is an easy one.
We don't have a lot of time, so I don't go into detail about this. Marquise Brown finishes wide receivers 37. Wasn't even a wide receiver 3 for a young wide receiver that a lot of people love that I never liked him to begin with. Pretty terrible. And then Evan Ingram, tight end 14. And tight end 14 might as well be tight end 19. There's no difference almost. You know what I mean? So like three guys that all were expected to help your team win were all complete duds for me.
And I went with I don't know that people were relying on this player quite as much as the players that you were talking about. So it might be a little bit of a letdown, but Devin Singletary.
Least valuable.
I mean,
well, I mentioned him with Jared when we were talking about this on the way up.
I think it's something that there at least a chunk of the community was out there saying, no, he's going to be the number one guy over Zach Moss. He's going to hold value in this offense, and he's at running back 31 at the end of the year. I mean, it's just not getting it done. You know what I mean? So he's a least valuable player. He really let down some fantasy owners out there. Players, yes.
Play on, player.
Managers.
That was the word I was looking for. Managers.
Call me the dynasty player.
I went with a guy that was hovering right around first round ADP for redraft, not necessarily dynasty, but hovering just outside of that first round. Kenyon Drake.
Oh yeah, I thought of him for this as well.
Yeah, and he recovered a little bit over the course of the season.
I thought he recovered a lot of it at the end.
Not really. I'm going to go over it in just a second here, but he had basically nothing at the beginning of the year, with the exception of the 28-point game versus Dallas. At that point, you weren't even sure you could start him. So you might have started him, you might not have. Week 7 against Seattle, nothing. Got injured for a week, came back, got 9. Then he had a nice little stretch. 16, 24. That was the only game that he had over 16 points in the second half of the season. 13, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's not bad. 16, but then when you needed him to really come in clutch, 6 points.
6 points in the playoffs.
13 points. Those next 2 weeks. Like, those are not helping you win your ship. So for a guy that you took in the first round, maybe not first round, we'll say second round, guy you took in the second round that you were hoping to count on, you had no clue when you could start this guy.
This is a guy that's on
your team.
He's on the franchise tag. You're thinking they're going to really feature him and use him a bunch this year, especially with the end of the year, last year's usage. You thought that was just going to continue on throughout the whole year, and he was a big letdown because I had him in a super flex league, and I know that I was disappointed.
Chances are you weren't able to really capitalize on when you maybe got 2 weeks in there around like week 12, 14.
In that particular league, I'm a little bit light on running backs. Yeah. I was starting him most weeks. And I got what I got.
I was going to say, he probably let you down so much early in the season, though, that you weren't even in playoff contention by that point.
I wasn't, no.
I disagree. Finished as running back 14 overall, had more points than Chris Carson, had more points than Melvin Gordon, had more points than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, had more points than Miles Sanders.
But you're looking at the end of the season.
Yes.
He let you down before that even mattered. Like that. Okay. By that point, he was irrelevant. So maybe you got 2 good weeks out of him, but then he let you down when it mattered most in the playoffs.
Kind of like Tyler Lockett. Moving on. Comeback player of the year award goes. I'll go first. David Montgomery. What a bounce back. Finish the year.
I thought about him for this one.
Yeah. Finish the year is running back 6, weeks 1 through 16. If you go all the way to 17, he was running back 4.
Yep.
Now, you can argue that his late stretch, we mentioned on the Dynasty podcast, like as a season winner, because he's the easiest running back schedule for the rest of the year was David Montgomery. But if you're going to have an easy schedule, produce at a high level, right? If you're going to play bad teams, beat them significantly. David Montgomery looked great.
He wasn't doing that earlier in the year, even against the bad teams.
Vision, balance, receiving. Here's the thing. He looked good enough where he's going to get an opportunity in 2021 with the Bears and be the guy. And when you're the guy and you get the carries, that's all you can ask for. Will most likely be a running back 2 next year, but
he was getting the targets as well. He was
Tariq Cohen's coming back.
Was he third? Was he third or something like that among running backs? He was very high among the running backs.
Cohen's going to hurt that, but again, for a guy that we've all written off as a dynasty wasteland player, could help you win a championship, and now has value again. Now,
I agree.
If he comes back next year, he's looking okay. I'm selling, but comeback player of the year for me, David Montgomery.
So I could not come up with anybody for this award. I looked at David Montgomery, but then I thought about how we had highlighted the fact that, his end of the year schedule was so easy. So I was like, I don't know. So then I kind of went with the joke one and went with Derrick Henry because he was up there and he just came back and did it again. He crushed it, man. So I took this as a different interpretation of the thing. I mean, obviously, Derrick Henry for us, we put him down for so long that I thought it was just right that I propped him up here at the end. At least got him into one of these awards. He is my comeback player of the year because he came back and did it again. 2,000 yards. Unreal, man. He's just a bulldozer.
Absolutely.
On his back.
Yep.
Coming along. Garrett?
I went with somebody that's already been discussed. It wasn't for one of my awards, but it was a guy Matt highlighted.
Mike Williams?
It was Mike Williams.
What a comeback.
That'll be next year's show.
Comeback player of the decade. Aaron Rodgers was my choice.
I hate you a little bit right now.
I believe you do. But great job with Justin Jefferson. Okay.
And it's your brother.
I went with Aaron Rodgers. He had redraft ADP. He was QB 12 off the board this year for redraft purposes. Probably even slightly lower in dynasty leagues.
Got me in the Scott Fish semis.
Yeah, he did. One of the big things was the narrative of Jordan Love's here now.
Yep.
He could be gone. They ran the ball a lot more last year. It looks like they're going a lot more run heavy. They drafted A.J. Dillon. They're clearly wanting to pound the rock.
They didn't give him any wide receivers in the
draft.
They
didn't give him any wide receivers, no pass catchers. He's washed. He's done. It's the end of his career. He's old now. Wrap it up. And he said, now I'm going to throw 48 touchdowns.
All right. Last award. The MVP of the year.
MVP.
Can you have two MVPs or no?
You can have.
Nope.
All right.
You could have.
This is the one award, only one.
Most valuable.
And the most. All right.
I mean, I think for everybody, it probably came down to two players, a receiver and a running back.
Yep.
I had a receiver, but it might not be the same one.
Who'd you pick?
How dare you?
I ended up going with Stephon Diggs as the
right.
fantasy MVP of the season. Let me explain why.
All right, go ahead.
Let me explain why. Guess how many games where he had less? Was that the one you picked?
Hell no.
Oh, yeah. You picked Devontae Adams. I know.
Yeah. No, I didn't pick Devontae Adams, but if I'm going to pick a receiver, it's going to be Devontae Adams.
Okay, well, let me tell you why. Guess how many games where he had below 10 points?
None.
0.
None.
He had absolutely 0 games where he was below 10. And on top of that, let's look at what he did over the course of the fantasy playoffs, which is really where the MVP gets defined, in my opinion, is the guy that helps you actually win your league. So,
that's who my MVP is.
Huh?
I did too. I picked somebody who helps you win your league.
Yeah, I know. I know who yours is. That's who I have as my number one guy as well.
You scored 6 touchdowns in the championship game and beat me in all my championship games because it so happens I play Alvin Kamara in every single championship game. Yeah, no problem.
Week 14, 29 points.
Good.
Week 15, 25 points. Week 16, 41 points. Absolutely a league winner for teams. Stephon Diggs, fantasy MVP. Alvin Kamara had a rough stretch there. Stephon Diggs never did.
This is the kind of award that gets nominated. People are like, dude, take away his voting rights. Like, who wins the MVP?
Wait. Where did you draft Alvin Kamara? Let me ask you that. Where did you draft Alvin Kamara?
Top 5.
Okay, where did you draft Stephon Diggs?
This is not value above draft position.
Yeah, this isn't best ADP award. This is the most valuable fantasy player.
Yes. How much value did you gain over the course of the season with Stephon Diggs? Because you could have had Stephon Diggs and Alvin Kamara.
Weeks 1 through 16, Stephon Diggs averaged 20.9 points.
Winning.
Devontae Adams averaged 26.3 points. Stephon Diggs had 314 fantasy points on the year. Devontae Adams had 341 points on the year. But besides that, Devontae Adams is not my number one MVP either. My MVP of the year is handily, Alvin Kamara.
6 touchdowns, man.
Running back 1 on the year. You mentioned the playoffs, comes up huge, scores 6 touchdowns, tied an NFL record. His 377 points were the most amongst positional players, 4th in all fantasy football, right behind the 3 quarterbacks. And this is somebody that scored, again, Devontae Adams, right? I just mentioned him. Adams scored 341 points. Tyreek Hill scored 328, right? So that point differential isn't that big of a difference. Alvin Kamara scored 377 points in PPR leagues 1 through 17. The second best running back, Dalvin Cook, he had 40 more points there. The third best running back, Derrick Henry, he had 79 points more than Derrick Henry. To me, this was easy. Because at first I was like, oh, it's probably Devontae Adams. It's easy. Or Alvin Kamara. easy after looking at all the data. And Devontae Adams missed 2 games.
Yep.
Alvin Kamara, hands down, the 2021 fantasy MVP, and this guy agrees with me.
I do. I mean, and
Keep your voting rights, by the way.
thank you, Devontae Adams. It was very close, but it was the performance in Week 15 in the playoffs where Devontae Adams got you 11 points. That's what tipped the scales enough for me to pick Alvin Kamara over.
I will say Alvin Kamara, Week 11 and Week 12, 10 and 6 points, right? Heading into the playoffs. It's not the time you need that.
Well, going into playoffs. But he had you such a far lead at that point. Like, he was just like slowing it down a little bit. He was like, maybe you want to play like a better, maybe I'm just going to rest my bones, come and score 6 touchdowns in the championship, going to get you there too. 6 touchdowns.
I'm just saying you were able to take Stephon Diggs in like the 6th, 7th round.
It was so bad because on Thursday
6th
night,
or 7th round.
I was facing Alvin Kamara in all my championship games, face him, not having him.
Oh, I had him.
I was just telling my wife. My wife's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, this guy's scored 5 touchdowns. The record's 6. I was like, I hope he scores another touchdown. At this point, I'm not winning.
By the way, one of my fantasy teams, Alvin Kamara, Stephon Diggs, who had 3 touchdowns that week, and Devontae Adams, who had 3 touchdowns that week.
You scored 1,000 points in your championship
I
game?
scored all the points. They ran out of points.
You got all the points.
We ran them out.
Do they start having like X's after the
Yeah,
numbers?
Roman numerals.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it was
you
just
get
weird
3
stuff.
X's. Things start to get real dirty around here. So that's it. That's our
That's it.
2020 Fantasy Award Show. Again, make sure you check out the Dynasty Nerds YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, comment, hit that notifications button. We got tons of content on there. And of course, if you've been waiting all in season, because I guess I understand in season, you're doing
busy.
your thing. Maybe you're not a Nerd Herd member. This is the time. This is the time. It's only $2.99, the price of a cup of coffee. For the price of a cup of coffee for a month, you will get more information to put you in position to dominate your rookie draft at dynastynerds.com. If you check out all the major analysts out there, they use dynastynerds.com, mostly because of the Dynasty Nerds film room.
Yep.
If you want to scout the 2021 rookies and you want to do this in the best possible manner that you can do it, you've got to get to dynastynerds.com. You've got to join the Nerd, and you got to check out the Dynasty Nerds film room. Now, we have tons of other stuff at Dynasty Nerds to help you out, like the Nerd Score, articles, rankings, the Dynasty GM tool, which lets you evaluate all your leagues and see everything you have going on in there and how to streamline trades. Like Jared just put out a video on how to streamline trades on the Dynasty GM by looking at a player's player card. Just check out that video. You're going to love it. But the film room is going to show you all the 2021 rookies. We're going to have minimum 3 games of each player. All the top players, we're going to have about 7 games of them. And
At least.
this is, you can watch an entire game in 5 minutes. All it's going to do is show you every single snap that player was in on for that game. There's no better way to evaluate rookies than getting your eyes on them yourselves. We are here to help you, guide you along the way. Other podcasts will be here to guide you along the way as well. But you should always be the one to make your own decision.
Yep.
And putting your eyes on that player
the best
is
way.
going to do it the best. It's what put a guy like Justin Jefferson ahead of Fournette because he just saw it on the film. When I was watching Antonio Gibson and you guys were talking about Darius Geis, I was like, I just see Antonio Gibson. He looks really good. I bet he'll be the starter by week 6 in Washington.
To be fair, there were some weird circumstances there.
He still would have been the starter. But you know what I mean? But it's like it was a tape in a film
Sure.
room that showed
absolutely.
me this
Right.
on Antonio Gibson. That made me a believer on his limited carries. I got to see every single one of them in the film room.
Dude, we have like 12 videos, I think, on potential Heisman winner Devontae Smith, Najee Harris. So we have
Because
more
we're
than
combining the 2019 and 2020 tape. So we didn't know if those guys were coming out last year, some of them. So we already have a lot in the film room from some of those guys. Then we're getting all the 2020 tape into. It's unreal.
You're doing yourself a disservice as a dynasty player not to make your dynasty team the best it could possibly be and to put yourself in the best position to dominate rookie drafts. It's how you play dynasty. How do you make a better team? There's only 2 ways: by a trade, by a draft, right? The easiest way to change your team into a monster is through the draft. And there's no long-term commitment here. $3 is all it takes. $5 if you want the GM tool too, which is, to me, is absolutely
Hands
clutch.
down. Amazing. Yep.
$5, give it a month, check it out, and I promise you'll stick around. It offers tremendous value. We get comments all the time like, you should charge more for all of this. You should charge more. That's not what we're here to do. We want everybody to be the best dynasty player that we possibly can. So we're looking at budget. What does it cost for our developers? What does it cost to get all this film in the film room? how can we do this and make it very affordable for our users, our readers, our YouTube watchers, and our listeners of the podcast. This is how you do it. And you don't have to take my word for it, like the Dynasty Nerd t-shirt being the most comfortable t-shirt in the world. People, they're like, hey, I thought you were lying. I don't lie. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to do what I wanted to do when we started DynastyNerds.com, Matt, to begin with, is talk Dynasty fantasy football and hopefully help people out there just be a better Dynasty player and have a little bit more information, right? And do the best I can to get the best information. Will we always be right? No, of course not, but nobody is. But we're lucky enough to be right more than we're wrong. Check it out. Get to DynastyNerds.com. Check out the film room. The film room by itself is worth the subscription.
Absolutely.
But you're going to get so much more. Again, don't take my word for it. Check it out. Give us a month. And I promise you'll stick around all year. And we have a lot of updates. If you're already a GM, Dynasty GM owner, tool user,
it's only going to get better.
We have so many more updates planned for 2021. The price doesn't change either. It's there for you. We have so many more things planned for that tool that are going to knock your socks off. If you don't wear socks, well,
we'll knock your sandals off.
We'll knock those bad boys off.
Put some on because we're going to knock them off.
Yeah, we'll clip those toenails for you. All right, Rex Ryan, Hervey McGurvey. That's it. I'm so excited to kick off this 2021 season. It's going to be fun.
The off season begins.
It's my favorite part of the year of playing Dynasty. In season's fun. Mm-hmm. Off season even better. I can't wait to get in with you guys. Can't wait to get with you Nerd Herd. We'll be back next week doing our 2021 way too early mock draft.
We're about to kick it up a notch. Adios.